Welcome everybody, this is Alan with Daily Armor of God. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you're all doing well. This is reading the Bible in 123 days. We're on day 81. Today we'll be reading Jeremiah 44 through 50. So yesterday we were talking about, or we read about how the remnant that was left after Babylon had taken away pretty much everyone, almost everyone, either killed them or took them away captive back to Babylon. That Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar left a small remnant, mainly of poor people that were of no value to take or to kill, because, you know, they're just poor and worthless in their eyes. And so they left a lot of poor people behind. And these poor people and all these people stayed behind, and they wanted to leave Jerusalem and the area surrounding that to go into Egypt, because there's this guy who came and killed the king that Nebuchadnezzar himself had appointed over Jerusalem. So they were all afraid that Nebuchadnezzar would come and take them, either kill them or take them to Babylon too. So they're like, we're not staying here. We're not staying in Israel. We're going to, or I guess Judah, but you know, overall the Israel area. But we're not staying in Judah. We're going to go down into Egypt. And so they're like, hey Jeremiah, what does God say about that? I don't even know why they asked, because they really don't care. One way or another, they're going to do what they want to do. Same way Jeremiah was like, no, don't go into Egypt, you'll surely die there. And they're like, no. We'll read here in Jeremiah 43 is where we're at now, where I'm talking about. So in Jeremiah 43, so when Jeremiah made end of speaking all the people of the words of Yahweh their God, so he was telling them, don't go into Egypt, basically. Then Azariah the son of Hoshea and Johanan the son of Kareah, basically these are like rebels who killed that king that Nebuchadnezzar had set over Jerusalem, and they're the ones who wanted to go down into Egypt. But so they're like, thou speakest falsely. And they're just denying what Jeremiah said, even though they asked him. And then they're like, yeah, you want us just to stay here because you want us to die. And then so they're like, nah, we're not going to obey the voice of the Lord. We're going to dwell here in Judah. Let's go to Egypt. So my point in all this was, yesterday I was saying that I must have missed this part, which, you know, I'm human. I make mistakes. I missed this part. I mean, I read it, but I probably didn't understand it. I was wondering why Jeremiah was in Egypt, because he would not have disobeyed the voice of the Lord. But here's our answer right here if we look more closely. But Johanan, the son of Kareah, and all the captains of the forces took all the remnant of Judah, so every single person that was left from not being killed or taken to Babylon, they forcibly took all of them that returned from all nations, whither they had been driven, to dwell in the land of Judah, even men and women and children and kings' daughters, and every person that Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, had left with Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam. So this is the guy that was killed, Gedaliah. He was killed by these rebels. And so that's the whole reason why they were fearing. They wanted to go into Egypt, because they were fearing that Nebuchadnezzar would come and kill them for killing the king they had appointed over them. So they killed Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, the son of Shaphan, and Jeremiah the prophet, and Baruch, the son of Neriah. So, right here, and then continuing on this. So they came into the land of Egypt, for they obeyed not the voice of Yahweh. Thus came they even to Taphanes. So it doesn't say outright. You have to look deep into it to see. But yeah, they forcibly took. It doesn't say forcibly took them, but they took all of them, whether they were willing or not. And that includes Jeremiah. Every single person they took. So basically they just, pardon my French, they damned everybody to death, to their fate, because that's exactly what God told Jeremiah would happen. And unfortunately Jeremiah went down there with him. Well, again, he would not have obeyed the voice of the Lord, so he was obviously forced to go down there. Jeremiah, what we know of his character so far, he would not have gone down there. Nope, he would not have. not willingly. So he was forced. That's why all these other people were forced too. Every woman and children and king's daughters and every person. So, and Baruch, son of Neriah. So all these people were forced down into Egypt by these two, I don't know what you call them, leaders, but they're rebels. So that's where we're at. That's why I was wondering yesterday when I was thinking to myself, or thinking out loud, that Jeremiah would not have gone down there willingly because he would not have disobeyed the voice of God. But here's our answer here. So anyway, continuing on, I just want to make that point and a little bit of a recap. That's where we're at. They're down in Egypt now, including Jeremiah. The remnant that was left is down in Egypt now. God said, don't go down there, you will surely die. And we already know what's going to happen. If you've read the Bible before, you know what's going to happen, unfortunately. So, Jeremiah 44, verse 1. The word that came to Jeremiah concerning all the Jews which dwell in the land of Egypt, which dwell at Migdol and at Taphanes and at Noph, and in the country of Pathros, saying, Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the God of Israel, Ye have seen all the evil that I have brought upon Jerusalem and upon all the cities of Judah, and behold, this day they are a desolation, and no man dwelleth therein. Because of their wickedness which they have committed to provoke me to anger, in that they went to burn incense and to serve other gods, whom they knew not, neither they, nor ye, nor your fathers. Howbeit I sent unto you all my servants, the prophets, rising early, and sending them, saying, Oh, I do not this abominable thing that I hate. But they hearkened not, nor inclined their ear to turn from their wickedness, to burn no incense unto other gods. Wherefore my fury and mine anger was poured forth, and was kindled in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem, and they are wasted and desolate, as at this day. Therefore now thus saith Yahweh, the God of hosts, the God of Israel, Wherefore commit ye this great evil against your souls, to cut off from you man and woman, child and suckling, out of Judah, to leave you none to remain. So, you know what's interesting here? Excuse me. God prophesied this, even Moses did too. But God prophesied saying, I'm not going to leave anybody remaining. And then yesterday we read about how, oh, there's a remnant. But yet that remnant left Judah. So literally God's prophecy came to fulfillment there, because there's literally nobody left now, because they all left. Either they died by the sword, pestilence, the famine, they were all taken away, captive to Babylon, or that remnant that was left, even they left Judah and went into Egypt. So it really did come to pass that God said there wouldn't be anyone left. And here he goes again saying that, cut off you man, woman, child, suckling, out of Judah, to leave you none to remain. None was there. The city was in desolation, in heaps. If you remember, they tore down the walls of Jerusalem. They burned everything with fire. So it's literally just a ruinous heap. In that ye provoke me unto wrath with the works of your hands, burning incense unto other gods in the land of Egypt. So the remnant that remained, that was, let's just face it, lucky and blessed. I guess not lucky, but blessed that they were even alive and not taken captive. What do? They burn incense. Okay, so number one, they said don't go to Egypt, so they went to Egypt. That alone is just a great sin. And not only do they disobey God and go to Egypt, but then they start burning incense to the gods of Egypt. What? Like, this is just craziness to be reading this, isn't it? Like, oh yeah, I'm just going to start praying to the gods of Egypt now. What are these people thinking? Like, I don't understand this. I mean, I know we are all stubborn in our own ways as humans. This is just craziness. When I read this, I'm thinking to myself, wow. They disobeyed God, went into Egypt. Then they just did more abominations by worshiping the Egyptian gods. Because, when they were in Jerusalem, they were worshiping, I don't know, tons of different types of gods. The Bible says more than the streets of Jerusalem. And I'm sure there was a lot of streets of Jerusalem, so they were worshiping, and they had altars to every type of god, the host of heaven. Not God, though. They were worshiping every single lowercase g god that they could think of, but I don't know if they would be worshiping Egyptian gods back then. They probably were, but here they are. After all the stuff they've been through, they are worshiping these Egyptian gods. It's just mind-boggling, mind-blowing that they would do this. But continue on. Just crazy to think. So they were burning incense unto other gods in the land of Egypt, where God told them not to go. Whither ye be gone to dwell, that ye might cut yourselves off, and that ye might be a curse and a reproach among all the nations of the earth? Have ye forgotten the wickedness of your fathers, and the wickedness of the kings of Judah, and the wickedness of their wives, and your own wickedness, and the wickedness of your wives, which they have committed in the land of Judah, and in the streets of Jerusalem? They are not humbled even unto this day, neither have they feared, nor walked in my law, nor in my statutes, that I set before you, and before your fathers. Therefore thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the God of Israel, Behold, I will set my face against you for evil, and to cut off all Judah. Those are the words you never want to hear. These are the words you never, ever want to hear from God. This is why you need to fear God and nobody else, because there is nobody else to fear except for God. Because no one else can bring upon you, as much and severe punishment as God can, and chastisement. So, I will set my face against you for evil, and to cut off all Judah, and I will take the remnant of Judah that have set their faces to go into the land of Egypt, to sojourn there, and they shall all be consumed, and fall in the land of Egypt. And they shall even be consumed by the sword and the famine. They shall die, from the least even unto the greatest, by the sword and by the famine, and they shall be an excretion, and an astonishment, and a curse, and a reproach. I will punish them that dwell in the land of Egypt, as I have punished Jerusalem, by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence, so that none of the remnant of Judah, which are gone into the land of Egypt to sojourn there, shall escape or remain. They that should return to the land of Judah, to the which they have desire to return to dwell there, for none shall return but such as shall escape. And all the men which knew that their wives had burned incense unto other gods, and all the women that stood by, a great multitude, even all the people that dwelt in the land of Egypt, in Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, As for the word that thou hast spoken unto us in the name of Yahweh, we will not hearken unto thee. Again, they're just so stubborn. How many times do we see this? We see this so many times throughout Jeremiah. Nobody would listen to Jeremiah in all the chapters we've read so far. I can't think of a single instance where anyone listened to Jeremiah. Nobody. It's just so sad. We will not hearken unto thee, but we will certainly do whatsoever thing goeth forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings and our princes, in the cities of Judah and the streets of Jerusalem. For then we had plenty of victuals, and we were well, and saw no evil. Mind-boggling, brainwashed people. Like, wow. And since we left off to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven, to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have wanted all things, and have been consumed by the sword and by the famine. When we burned incense to the Queen of Heaven, and poured out drink offerings unto her, did we make her cakes to worship her, and pour out drink offerings unto her without our men? Then Jeremiah said unto all the people, to the men, to the women, to all the people which had given him that answer, saying, The incense that ye burned in the cities of Judah, and in the streets of Jerusalem, ye and your fathers, your kings and your princes, and the people of the land, did not Yahweh remember them, and came it not into his mind, so that Yahweh could no longer bear because of the evil of your doings, and because of the abominations which ye have committed? Therefore is your land a desolation, and an astonishment, and a curse, without an inhabitant, as at this day. Because ye have burned incense, and because ye have sinned against Yahweh, and have not obeyed the voice of Yahweh, nor walked in his law, nor in his statutes, nor in his testimonies, therefore this evil has happened unto you, as at this day. Man, we were talking about this yesterday, how Jeremiah had great boldness and perseverance too. If you think about all the stuff he went through, being beaten and imprisoned many times for long periods of times, and also nobody listening to him and just everybody persecuting him. But also think here how much patience he has as well. So he has boldness, he has perseverance, he has patience, because he keeps dealing with these stubborn people that don't want to listen to a word he says and keep saying blasphemies and doing abominations. Wow, it's just amazing. It's very hard. It is super hard as humans to be patient and to be bold and to have perseverance through all the stuff that Jeremiah is going through. So Jeremiah is a great picture of what we should pray for and strive for, is to be very patient and to have great perseverance and great faith. He had faith in God too, but also great boldness to tell them you're wrong. He could have been like the other false you know, prophets. They were false prophets, they weren't real, but he could have been like them, where he would tell them words that they want to hear. What does that remind you of in today's world? People want to be told only what they want to hear. They don't want to hear truth. They don't want to hear negativity. They don't want to hear that they're doing wrong, that they're in sin. They don't want to hear it. They only want to hear what they want to hear. You know what the Bible says about that? You know, people who have itching ears. You know, like, they only want to hear what they want to hear. They don't want to be told the truth. And so it's just all these things that Jeremiah has to go through. He still remained and persevered, had faith in God. And so if we look at Jeremiah and what he has to deal with, then that's something that should encourage us and to give us something to pray for and to strive to be. Obviously, we should strive to be like Christ, yes, but also some of the aspects of Jeremiah are just very great as well. Anyway, continuing on. So he's he's rebuking them here, because he's like, yeah, look at your city. It's in desolations. Because you wouldn't worship the one true living God. So, moreover, Jeremiah said unto all the people and to all the women, hear the word of Yahweh, all Judah that are in the land of Egypt. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the God of Israel, saying, Ye and your wives have both spoken with your mouths, and fulfilled with your hands, saying, We will surely perform our vows that we have vowed, to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her. Will surely accomplish your vows, and surely perform your vows. Therefore hear ye the word of Yahweh, all that of Judah that dwell in the land of Egypt. Behold, I have sworn by my great name, saith Yahweh, that my name shall no more be named in the mouth of any man of Judah and all the land of Egypt, saying, The Lord Yahweh liveth. Behold, I will watch over them for evil and not for good, and all the men of Judah that are in the land of Egypt shall be consumed by the sword and by the famine, until there be an end of them. Yet a small number that escape the sword shall return unto the land of Egypt, into the land of Judah. And all the remnant of Judah that are gone into the land of Egypt to sojourn there shall know whose word shall stand, mine or theirs. And this shall be a sign unto you, saith Yahweh, that I will punish you in this place, that ye may know that my word shall surely stand against you for evil. Thus saith Yahweh, Behold, I will give you Pharaoh Hophra, king of Egypt, into the hand of his enemies, into the hand of them that seek his life, as I gave Zedekiah, king of Judah, into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, his enemy, and that sought his life. Jeremiah 45. The word that Jeremiah the prophet spake unto Baruch the son of Neriah, when he had written these words in a book at the mouth of Jeremiah, in the 4th year of Jehoiakim son of Josiah, king of Judah, saying, Thus saith Yahweh the God of Israel unto thee, O Baruch, Thou didst say, Woe is me now, for Yahweh hath added grief to my sorrow. I fainted in my sighing, and I found no rest. Thus shalt thou say unto him, Yahweh saith thus, because that which I have built will I break down, and that which I have planted will I pluck up, even this whole land. Seekest thou great things for thyself? Seek them not, for behold, I will bring evil upon all flesh, saith Yahweh. But thy life will I give unto thee for a prey in all places whither thou goest. Jeremiah 46. The word of Yahweh which came to Jeremiah the prophet against the Gentiles. against Egypt, against the army of Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, which was by the river Euphrates, and Carchemish, which Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, smote in the 4th year of Jehoiakim the son of Josiah, king of Judah. Order ye the buckler and shield, and draw near to battle. Harness the horses, and get up, ye horsemen, and stand forth with your helmets. Furbish the spears, and put on the brigandines. Wherefore have I seen them dismayed and turned away back, and their mighty ones are beaten down and are fled apace. And look not back, for the fear was round about, saith Yahweh. Let not the swift flee away, nor the mighty man escape. They shall stumble and fall toward the north by the river Euphrates. Who is this that cometh up as a flood, whose waters are moved as the rivers? Egypt riseth up like a flood, and his waters are moved like the rivers. And he saith, I will go up and cover the earth, and I will destroy the city and the inhabitants thereof. Come up, ye horses, and rage, ye chariots, and let the mighty men come forth, the Ethiopians and the Libyans that handle the shield, and the Lydians that handle and bend the bow. For this is the day of Yahweh, God of the Lord Yahweh of hosts, a day of vengeance, that he may avenge him of his adversaries. And the sword shall devour, and it shall be satiate and made drunk with their blood. For Lord Yahweh of hosts hath a sacrifice in the north country by the river Euphrates. Go up into Gilead and take balm, O virgin, the daughter of Egypt. In vain shalt thou use many medicines, for thou shalt not be cured. The nations have heard of thy shame, and thy cry hath filled the land, for the mighty man hath stumbled against the mighty, and they are fallen both together. The word that Yahweh spake to Jeremiah, the prophet, how Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon should come and smite the land of Egypt. Declare ye in Egypt, and publish in Migdol, and publish in Noph and Taphanes. Say ye, stand fast to prepare thee, for the sword shall devour round about thee. Why are thy valiant men swept away? They stood not because Yahweh did drive them. He made many to fall, yea, one fell upon another. And they said, Arise, and let us go again to our people, and to the land of our nativity, from the oppressing sword. They did cry there, Pharaoh, king of Egypt, is but a noise, and he hath possessed the time appointed. As I live, saith the king, whose name is Yahweh of hosts, surely as Tabor is among the mountains, as Carmel by the sea, so shall he come. O thou daughter dwelling in Egypt, furnish thyself to go into captivity, for Noph shall be waste and desolate without inhabitant. Egypt is like a very fair heifer, but destruction cometh, it cometh out of the north. Also her hired men are in the midst of her, like fatted bullocks, but for they are also turned back, and are fled away together. They did not stand, because the day of their calamity was come upon them, and the time of their visitation. The voice thereof shall go like a serpent, for they shall march with an army, and come against her with axes as hewers of wood. They shall cut down her forests, saith Yahweh, though it cannot be searched, because they are more than grasshoppers, and are innumerable. The daughter of Egypt shall be confounded, she shall be delivered into the hand of the people of the north. Yahweh of hosts, the God of Israel, saith, Behold, I will punish the multitude of Noph, and Pharaoh, and Egypt, with their gods, and their kings, even Pharaoh and all of them that trust in him. I will deliver them into the hand of those that seek their lives, into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and into the hand of his servants, and afterward it shall be inhabited, as in the days of old, saith Yahweh. But fear not thou, O my servant Jacob, and be not dismayed, O Israel, for behold, I will save thee from afar off, and thy seed from the land of their captivity, and Jacob shall return, and be in rest, and at ease, and none shall make him afraid. Fear thou not, O Jacob my servant, saith Yahweh, for I am with thee, for I will make a full end to the nations whither I have driven thee, but I will not make a full end of thee, but correct thee in measure, yet will I not leave thee wholly unpunished. So even all this wrath, God is still saying, I'm not going to completely wipe you out, but he will still punish them. There's no escaping that punishment. And not everyone's going to get to survive in their seed. So, Jeremiah 47. The word of Yahweh that came to Jeremiah the prophet against the Philistines before that Pharaoh smote Gaza. Thus saith Yahweh, Behold, waters rise up out of the north, and shall be an overflowing flood, and shall overflow the land, and all that is therein, the city and them that dwell therein. Then the men shall cry, and all the inhabitants of the land shall howl. At the noise of the stamping of the hoofs of his strong horses, at the rushing of his chariots, and at the rumbling of his wheels, the fathers shall not look back to their children for feebleness of hands. Because of the day that cometh to spoil all the Philistines, and to cut off from Tyrus and Zidon every helper that remaineth, for Yahweh will spoil the Philistines, the remnant of the country of Caphtor. Baldness is come upon Gaza, Ashkelon is cut off with the remnant of their valley. How long wilt thou cut thyself? O thou sword of Yahweh, how long wilt thou be quiet? But put up thyself into thy scabbard, rest and be still. How can it be quiet, seeing Yahweh hath given it a charge against Ashkelon and against the seashore? There hath he appointed it. Jeremiah 48. Against Moab, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the God of Israel, woe unto Nebo, for it is spoiled. Kiriathaim is confounded and taken, Mizgab is confounded and dismayed. There shall be no more praise of Moab in Heshbon. They have despised evil against it. Come and let us cut it off from being a nation. Also, thou shalt be cut down, O madman, the sword shall pursue thee. A voice of crying shall be from Horonaim, spoiling the great destruction. Moab is destroyed, her little ones have caused to cry to be heard. For on the going up of Luhith, continual weeping shall go up, for in the going down of Horonaim, the enemies have heard a cry of destruction. Flee, save your lives, and be like the heath in the wilderness. For because thou hast trusted in thy works and in thy treasures, thou shalt also be taken, and Cheshmosh shall go forth into captivity with his priests and his princes together. And the spoiler shall come upon every city, and no city shall escape. The valley also shall perish, and the plain shall be destroyed, as Yahweh hath spoken. Give wings unto Moab, that it may flee and get away, for the cities thereof shall be desolate, without any to dwell therein. Cursed be he that doeth the work of Yahweh deceitfully, and cursed be he that keepeth back his sword from blood. Moab hath been at ease from his youth, and he hath settled on his lees, and hath not been emptied from vessel to vessel, and neither hath he gone into captivity. Therefore his taste remained in him, and his scent is not changed. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will send unto him wanderers, that shall cause him to wander, and shall empty his vessels, and break their bottles. And Moab shall be ashamed of Chemosh, as the house of Israel was ashamed of Bethel, their confidence. How say we? We are mighty and strong men for the war. Moab is spoiled and gone up out of her cities, and his chosen young men are gone down to the slaughter, saith the king, whose name is Yahweh of hosts. The calamity of Moab is near to come, and his affliction hasteth fast. All ye that are about him, bemoan him, and all ye that know his name, say, How is the strong staff broken and the beautiful rod? Thou daughter that dost inhabit Dibon, come down from thy glory, and sit and thirst, for the spoiler of Moab shall come upon thee, and he shall destroy thy strongholds. O inhabitant of Aror, stand by the way and espy. Ask him that fleeth and her that escapeth, and say, What is done? Moab is confounded, for it is broken down. Howl and cry, tell it in Arnon, that Moab is spoiled. And judgment is come upon the plain country, upon Holon, and upon Jahaz, and upon Methath, and upon Dibon, and upon Nebo, and upon Beth Diblathaim, and upon Kiriathaim, and upon Beth Gamul, and upon Beth Meon, and upon Kiriath, and upon Bozrah, and upon all the cities of the land of Moab, far or near. The horn of Moab is cut off, and his arm is broken, saith Yahweh. Make ye him drunken, for he magnified himself against Yahweh. Moab also shall wallow in his vomit, and he also shall be in derision. For was not Israel a derision to thee? Was he found among thieves? For since thou spakest of him, thou skippest for joy. O ye that dwell in Moab, leave the cities, and dwell in the rock, and be like the dove that maketh her nest in the sides of the hole's mouth. They have heard the pride of Moab. He is exceeding proud, his loftiness and his arrogancy, and his pride and the haughtiness of his heart. I know his wrath, saith Yahweh, but it shall not be so. His lies shall not so affect it. Therefore, Well, I howl for Moab, and I will cry out for all Moab. Mine heart shall mourn for the men of Kirch-Heres. O vine of Sibmah, I will weep for thee with the weeping of Jazer. Thy plants are gone over the sea, they reach even to the sea of Jazer. The spoiler is fallen upon thy summer fruits and upon thy vintage. And joy and gladness is taken from the plentiful field and from the land of Moab. And I have caused wine to fail from the wine presses. None shall tread with shouting. Their shouting shall be no shouting. From the cry of Heshbon even to Eliah, and even unto Jahaz, have they uttered their voice from Zorah even unto Horonaim, as a heifer of 3 years old, for the waters also of Nimrim shall be desolate. Moreover, I will cause to cease in Moab, saith Yahweh, him that offereth the high places, and him that burneth incense to his gods. Therefore mine heart shall sound for Moab like pipes, and mine heart shall sound like pipes for the men of Kirch-Heres, because the riches that he hath gotten are perished. For every head shall be bald, and every beard clipped, and upon all the hands shall be cuttings, and upon the loins sackcloth. There shall be lamentation generally upon all the housetops of Moab, and the streets thereof, for I have broken Moab like a vessel, wherein is no pleasure, saith Yahweh. They shall howl, saying, How is it broken down? How hath Moab turned its back with shame? So shall Moab be derision and dismay to all them about him. For thus saith Yahweh, Behold, he shall fly as an eagle, and shall spread his wings over Moab. Kerioth is taken, and the strongholds are surprised, and the mighty men's hearts in Moab at that day shall be as the heart of a woman in her pangs. And Moab shall be destroyed from being a people, because he hath magnified himself against Yahweh. Fear in the pit and the snare shall be upon thee, O inhabitant of Moab, saith Yahweh. He that fleeth from the fear shall fall into the pit, and he that getteth up out of the pit shall be taken in the snare. For I will bring upon it, even upon Moab, the year of their visitation, saith Yahweh. They that fled stood under the shadow of Heshbon because of the forest, but a fire shall come forth out of Heshbon, and a flame from the midst of Sihon, and shall devour the corner of Moab, and the crown of the head of the tumultuous ones. Woe be unto thee, O Moab! The people of Chemosh perisheth, for thy sons are taken captives, and thy daughters captives. Yet will I bring again the captivity of Moab in the latter days, saith Yahweh. Thus far is the judgment of Moab. Wow, it sounds very similar to what was being said about the judgment of Israel and Judah. Sounds very, very familiar. And what do we see happen? We see Israel being taken away captive, cities being burned. We see Judah being taken away captive, killed and captive, taken captive, and cities being burned, and all these things come to pass. But it's very similar to the prophecy of, Judah and Israel being taken captive, and it's really sad. Whenever there's prophecy in the Bible, you can be sure that it will, and it probably already had been fulfilled. So God always keeps his word, always. That can be that is an encouraging thought if you think about it this way, that our God, a God who cannot lie and who could do all things, always keeps his promises. So, yep, he does. Amen to that. We have a God we can actually trust, unlike false gods, lowercase g, made by men in men's hands. I can't ever see why anybody would do that. I've never had an urge to foul down to a statue and worship a statue, a lifeless statue. I don't understand that, but there are other ways. There are other in our time that we worship other gods, and who knows? The God may be being addicted to your phone, being addicted to social media, being addicted to movies and Hollywood and actors and actresses. This and that. Anything could be our gods and can be our idols, and we should be very careful. It's not just a physical statue, but that we make our gods, but also we can apply that to other things. So as far as physical things, I can't see why I would bow my knee and worship a lifeless statue. I can't imagine that. So, moving on to Jeremiah 49. Concerning the Ammonites, thus saith Yahweh, hath Israel no sons? Hath he no heir? Why then doth their king inherit Gad, and his people dwell in his cities? Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will cause an alarm of war to be heard in Rabbah of the Ammonites, and it shall be a desolate heap, and her daughters shall be burned with fire. Then shall Israel be heir unto them that were his heirs, saith Yahweh. Howl, O Heshbon, for Ai is spoiled. Cry, ye daughters of Rabbah, gird you with sackcloth, lament, and run to and fro by the hedges, for their king shall go into captivity, and his priests and his princes together. Therefore gloriest thou in the valleys, thy flowing valley, O backsliding daughter, that trusteth in her riches or treasures, saying, Who shall come unto me? Behold, I will bring a fear upon thee, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, from all those that be about thee, and ye shall be driven out every man right forth, and none shall gather up him that wandereth. And afterward I will bring again the captivity of the children of Ammon, saith Yahweh. So he's given, we're getting prophecy against basically all the enemies of Judah and Israel here, because a lot of these people are dwelling in cities that used to be the cities of the children of Israel and the children of Judah. Together, let's just say the children of Israel, because Judah and Israel used to be just Israel. And even though, I say Judah, they're still children of Israel. So, if you recall, Jacob is Israel, and all of them that come from Jacob's line are children of Israel. Excuse me. So, no matter if we're talking about the divided kingdom, Israel and Judah, still the same. They're still the children of Israel. Which makes it even sad when you consider, during the time of kings, how much war there was between the two. Basically, civil war, if you think about it. War against their fellow brothers and sisters. So, anyway, continue on. More prophecy against the enemies of children of Israel. Concerning Edom, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, Is wisdom no more in Teman? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? Flee ye, turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan, for I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I will visit him. If grape gatherers come to thee, will they not leave some gleaning grapes? If thieves by night, they will destroy till they have enough. But I have made Esau bare, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled in his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. Leave thy fatherless children, I will preserve them alive, and let thy widows trust in me. For thus saith Yahweh, Behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup that have assuredly drunken, and art thou he that shall go unpunished? Thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. For I have sworn by myself, saith Yahweh, that Bozrah shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and accursed, and all the cities thereof shall be perpetual wastes. I have heard a rumor from Yahweh, and an ambassador is sent unto the heathen, saying, Gather ye together, and come against her, and rise up to battle. For lo, I will make thee small among the heathen, and despised among men. Thy terribleness hath deceived thee in the pride of thine heart. O thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, thou that holdest the height of the hill, though thou shouldst make thy nest as high as the eagle, I will bring thee down from thence, saith Yahweh. Also Edom shall be a desolation, everyone that goeth by it shall be astonished, and shall hiss at the plagues thereof. As in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, saith Yahweh, no man shall abide there, neither shall a son of man dwell in it. Behold, he shall come up like a lion from the swelling of Jordan against the habitation of the strong, but I will suddenly make him run away from her. And who is the chosen man that I may appoint over her? For who is like me, and who will appoint me the time, and who is the shepherd that will stand before me? Therefore, Hear the counsel of Yahweh that he hath taken against Edom, and his purposes, that he hath purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. The earth is moved at the noise of their fall, at the cry of the noise thereof was heard in the Red Sea. Behold, he shall come up and fly as eagle, and spread his wings over Bozrah, and at that day shall the heart of the mighty men of Edom be as the heart of a woman in her pangs. Concerning Damascus, Hamath is confounded, and Arphad. So we're continuing here with more prophecy against all these cities and all these nations that were pretty much against children of Israel. Concerning Damascus, Hamath is confounded, and Arphad, for they have heard evil tidings, they are faint-hearted. There is sorrow on the sea, it cannot be quiet. Damascus is waxed feeble, and turneth herself to flee, and fear hath seized on her, anguish and sorrows have taken her as a woman in travail. How is the city of praise not left, the city of my joy? Therefore her young men shall fall in her streets, and all the men of war shall be cut off in that day, saith Yahweh of hosts. And I will kindle a fire in the wall of Damascus, and shall consume the palaces of Ben-Hadad. Concerning Kedar, and concerning the kingdoms of Hazor, which Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon shall smite, thus saith Yahweh, Arise ye, go up to Kedar, and spoil the men of the east. Their tents and their flocks shall they take away. They shall take to themselves their curtains, and all their vessels, and their camels, and they shall cry unto them. Fears on every side. Flee, get you far off, dwell deep, O ye inhabitants of Hazor, saith Yahweh, for Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon hath taken counsel against you, and hath conceived a purpose against you. Arise, get you up unto the wealthy nation that dwelleth without care, saith Yahweh, which have neither gates nor bars, which dwell alone. And their camels shall be a booty, and the multitude of their cattle a spoil. And I will scatter into all the winds of them that are in the utmost corners, and I will bring their calamity from all sides thereof, saith Yahweh. And Hazor shall be a dwelling for dragons, and a desolation forever. There shall no man abide there, nor any son of man dwell in it. The word of Yahweh that came to Jeremiah, the prophet, against Elam in the beginning of the reign of Zedekiah king of Judah, saying, Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, Behold, will I break the bow of Elam, chief of their might. And upon Elam will I bring 4 winds from the 4 quarters of heaven, and I will scatter them toward those winds, and there shall be no nation whither the outcast of Elam shall not come. For I will cause Elam to be dismayed before their enemies, and before them that seek their life, and I will bring evil upon them, even my fierce anger, saith Yahweh. And I will send the sword after them, till I have consumed them. And I will set my throne in Elam, and I will destroy from thence the king and the princes, saith Yahweh. But it shall come to pass in the latter days, that I will bring again the captivity of Elam, saith Yahweh. Alright, Jeremiah 50, more prophecy against these nations, and now we have against Babylon. The word that Yahweh spake against Babylon and against the land of the Chaldeans by Jeremiah the prophet. Declare ye among the nations, and publish, and set up a standard. Publish, and conceal not. Say, Babylon is taken, Bel is confounded, Merodach is broken in pieces, her idols are confounded, her images are broken in pieces. For out of the north there cometh up a nation against her, which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein. And they shall remove, and they shall depart, both man and beast. In those days and in that time, saith Yahweh, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Judah together, going and weeping. They shall go, and seek Yahweh their God. They shall ask the way to Zion with their faces thitherward, saying, Come and let us join ourselves to Yahweh in a perpetual covenant that shall not be forgotten. My people have been lost sheep, their shepherds have caused them to go astray. They have turned them away on the mountains, they have gone from mountain to hill, they have forgotten their resting place. All that found them have devoured them, and their adversaries said, We have fed not, because they have sinned against Yahweh, the habitation of justice, even Yahweh, we hope, the hope of their fathers. Remove out to the midst of Babylon, and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans, and be as the he-goats before the flocks. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken, their arrow shall be as of a mighty expert man, none shall return in vain. And Chaldea shall be a spoil, all that spoil her shall be satisfied, saith Yahweh. Because ye were glad, because ye rejoiced, O ye destroyers of mine heritage, because ye are grown fat as a heifer at grass, and bellow as bulls. Your mother shall be sore confounded, she that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. Because of the wrath of Yahweh it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate. Every one that goeth by Babylon shall be astonished, and hiss at all her plagues. Isn't this interesting that we see? God used Nebuchadnezzar and Babylon and the Chaldeans as, I don't know, I guess you call it a tool to punish Israel and Judah for what they've done, for their abominations. But also, they're not innocent either. They're like pagans. They worship idols and false gods and do the same abominations as the children of Israel, if not worse. But the point being, he used them to punish Israel, but also he's going to punish them. He's going to punish the punisher. And also we see, this is very interesting, we see today that a lot of the area where Babylon used to be, and Babylon used to be like, used to be a beautiful country, used to be full of green and you know, wildlife and trees and water and everything like that, like just a beautiful fertile area. But we see here God say it shall be wholly desolate. And what do we see? The area at which Babylon used to be is pretty much desolate. It's like desert, right? More of God keeping his promises and more prophecy being fulfilled. It does become desolate. Just look into the location of where Babylon is in today's world, and you'll see it's just like a desert, barren, desolate waste. And there's barely any greenery there, so, if any at all. Put yourselves in array against Babylon round about, and all ye that bend the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she hath sinned against Yahweh. Also, one more thing to add. It's not just about the wildlife and, you know, the plants and the fields and the trees and all that stuff. That's part of it. But also, if you look into Babylon, look into their city and everything, they had huge structures and huge, thick walls. Like, you wouldn't think that they could ever be invaded. But they did. Their walls got torn down. Their buildings got torn down. Everything, like, literally desolate is the perfect word for that. Everything became desolate. The land, the buildings, everything became desolate. Like, such a great word, that word, because literally everything. So you can't just think of like trees and stuff, but everything, their walls. Like, if you look at some of the old pictures of Babylon, and one of the things they were most proud about is their gigantic, huge, thick walls that were basically, in their eyes, were impenetrable. But they eventually did get taken down, and walls came down, and buildings came down, and there's pretty much nothing left of Babylon. It is desolate. So I just wanted to add that in there too. Shout against her round about, she hath given her hand, her foundations are fallen, her walls are thrown down, for it is vengeance of Yahweh. Take vengeance upon her, she hath done, as she hath done, do unto her. So, another interesting part, like I said, about the walls and the foundations, everything's torn down. But also this part here, as she hath done, she, being Babylon, as she hath done, do unto her. What did Babylon do to Jerusalem? They tore down their walls. They tore down Jerusalem's walls and burned everything with fire until it was desolate, until it was a heap. And what happens to Babylon later on? Exact same thing happens. Cut off the sower from Babylon, and him that handleth the sickle in the time of harvest, for fear of the oppressing sword. They shall turn every one to his people, and they shall flee every one to his own land. Israel is a scattered sheep, the lions have driven him away. First the king of Assyria hath devoured him, and last this Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon hath broken his bones. Therefore thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the God of Israel, Behold, I will punish the king of Babylon and his land, as I have punished the king of Assyria. And we're going to be reading more of that here pretty soon. When we get to Daniel, we'll find out that the king of Babylon praises himself so highly he thinks himself as a god, and God, if you haven't read it, you're going to love that part. God really does humble him, doesn't he? If you read the Bible, you know already what happens to him, but we're going to get to that later. It's pretty funny. And it's also sad at the same time because many people get like that and think like that, and either they will be humbled or they've already been humbled. God will humble you if you think yourself more highly than ye ought, as the Bible says. He will humble us all. So he'll punish them as he punished the king of Assyria. And I'll bring Israel again to his habitation. He shall feed on Carmel and Bashan, and his soul shall be satisfied upon Mount Ephraim and Gilead. In those days and that time, saith Yahweh, the iniquity of Israel shall be sought for, and there shall be none. And the sins of Judah, and they shall not be found, for I will pardon them whom I reserve. Go up against the land of Merathaim, even against it, and against the inhabitants of Pekod, waste and utterly destroy after them, saith Yahweh, and do according to all that I have commanded thee. The sound of battle is in the land, and of great destruction. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? Yep, and if you also, again, we're going to get to this, but Babylon was like the peak. You know, when the king of Babylon had the dream about the statue, and Daniel interpreted the dream, he said that Babylon was the head, right? And no other nation will be as wealthy or as great as Babylon ever again. That's why he had the head of gold. And then it changes. And it gets less and less and less. So Babylon is a picture of, oh, man's greatness. And things will never be like that again. But really, the greatness, if you read through the Bible, the best time period in the whole Bible, as far as like wealth and prosperity goes, is during King Solomon's time. He had so much prosperity, so much wealth, so much peace, and from that point, everything else is just going downhill, even into this time period today. Nothing. We can't even imagine what King Solomon's time was actually like. We can only glean some things, but it was just so much prosperity, so much wealth beyond what we couldn't even imagine. But anyway, so King Solomon's time was the peak, but also at this time here in Babylon's time was a peak for, I guess, pagan civilization, and then everything else that follows is pale in comparison. Anyway, continue on. I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against Yahweh. Yahweh hath opened his armory, and hath brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of the Lord, Yahweh of hosts, in the land of the Chaldeans. Come against her from the utmost border, open her storehouses, cast her up as heaps, and destroy her utterly. Let nothing of her be left. Slay all her bullocks, let them go down to the slaughter. Woe unto them, for their day is come, and the time of their visitation. The voice of them that flee and escape out of the land of Babylon, to declare in Zion the vengeance of Yahweh our God, the vengeance of his temple. Call together the archers against Babylon, all ye that bend the bow. Camp against it round about, let none thereof escape. Recompense her according to her work, according to all that she hath done. Do unto her, for she hath been proud against Yahweh, against the Holy One of Israel. Therefore shall her young men fall in the streets, and all her men of war shall be cut off in that day, saith Yahweh. Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, saith Yahweh, saith the Lord Yahweh, God of hosts. For thy day is come, the time that I will visit thee. And the most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall raise him up. And I will kindle him in a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all round about him. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. Their Redeemer is strong, Yahweh of hosts is his name. He shall thoroughly plead their cause, that he may give rest to the land, and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. A sword is upon the Chaldeans, saith Yahweh, and upon the inhabitants of Babylon, and upon her princes, upon her wise men. A sword is upon the liars, and they shall dote. A sword is upon her mighty men, and they shall be dismayed. A sword is upon their horses, upon their chariots, upon all the mingled people that are in the midst of her, and they shall become as women. A sword is upon her treasures, and they shall be robbed. A drought is upon her waters, and they shall be dried up, for this is the land of graven images, and they are mad upon their idols. So here we see a description of Babylon from the Bible, so we don't need to go to outside sources. We can to get a better description of Babylon, but right here in the Bible we see, one of the main things why, well, we see many things. Number one, they were proud and they were against God, but also that it was a land of graven images, and they are mad, crazy for their idols. That's what that means. They just love their idols. They love their graven images. Isn't that interesting? God hates that stuff. God commands us not to worship images or idols or any graven thing. And what happens? A drought is upon her waters. The land becomes desolate. The buildings get torn down. The walls get torn down. It becomes desert. Therefore the wild beasts of the desert with the wild beasts of the island shall dwell there, and the owl shall dwell therein. It shall be no more inhabited forever, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. As God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighbor cities thereof, saith Yahweh, so shall no man abide there, neither shall any son of man dwell therein. Behold, a people shall come from the north, and a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth. They shall hold the bow and the lance. They are cruel, they will not show mercy. Their voice shall roar like the sea. They shall ride upon horses, every one put in array, like a man to the battle against thee, O daughter of Babylon. The king of Babylon hath heard the report of them, and his hands waxed feeble. Anguish took hold of him, and pangs as of a woman in travail. Behold, he shall come up like a lion from the sulling of Jordan unto the habitation of the strong, but I will make them suddenly run away from her. And who is a chosen man that I may appoint over her? For who is like me? And who will appoint me the time? And who is that shepherd that will stand before me? Therefore hear ye the counsel of Yahweh, that he hath taken against Babylon, and his purposes that he hath purposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. At the noise of the taking of Babylon, the earth is moved, and the cry is heard among the nations. Okay, well, lots of prophecy against a lot of different nations and cities. A lot of them, if not all of them, are enemies, or were enemies, of the children of Israel. So interesting stuff because of what they did to them, and going against God and being pagan idol worshippers and graven images worshipping. So, and other abominations too. You have to realize that it wasn't just, oh yeah, I'm worshiping graven images and idols. It's not just that. There was so much other disgusting perverseness about what they were doing, and abominations. Like, you can't even, you could try to imagine it with your imagination. It won't even be what it really was like. It's probably worse than what you can even imagine. So, and the Bible gives us little glimpses of that, which is just disturbing, but they do disgusting, evil abominations. And they get judged for it. God judges them. God punishes them. And he will punish those people here today, in our world, in our time period, I mean. He will punish them, all these evil, wicked people who try to make evil look good, and try to say, oh, it's okay, and normalize every wicked thing under the sun that they can think of, and force it upon everybody. And all these disgusting, evil acts, they're going to get their rewards. They're going to get their punishments, and God will judge them. with righteous vengeance. The Bible says, "Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord." God will be the one to do it, and God is the one that should do it anyway, because He will give them perfect vengeance and perfect what they deserve, perfect punishment. So, all right, that's gonna be it for today. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you guys have a great evening, morning, and wherever you're at. Remember to put God first in everything you do. Have faith in Him. Have trust in Him. Wait upon Him, and you'll never be sorry. And God willingly, we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll be reading the rest of Jeremiah, which is only 2 more chapters, and then starting Lamentations. So, all right, thanks again, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.